Hello everyone, it's Lewis, and today I'm going to be covering the Delegated Legislation topic of the AQA Law AS specification. So let's just get into it. Delegated Legislation is a niche topic in the specification, but still you can get a lot of marks from it, so make sure you know this one like the back of your hand, guys, because it's really easy to gain some marks on this topic. So without further ado, let's start. So legislation basically means law, and the institution that makes law in the UK is called Parliament. There are two types of legislation that I would recommend just memorising, even though it's really unlikely that questions will come up on this, but anyway, just memorise them and then you'll be fine and you have a wider understanding about this topic. So primary legislation is law made by Parliament, so the main lawmaking body, and delegate legislation is a law created by an authority other than Parliament but with the authority of Parliament. So to delegate means to pass down, so delegate legislation is to pass down lawmaking powers. Why do we need delegate legislation? Well, there are loads of reasons that you need to remember for the exam. But I'm going to give you 5 reasons. If you remember these 5 reasons, then you will be fine. So the main reasons: insufficient to parliamentary time. So Parliament does not have the time to create every single law, therefore we need more lawmaking bodies to create more law. Speed. It takes longer to go through the whole lawmaking process, like the bill, green paper, white paper, etc. if you have studied that topic. I have a bit, but I don't have a wide understanding of it. Anyway, so we need more lawmaking bodies and faster lawmaking procedures that are faster. So yeah, we need to create laws faster so so it saves Parliament's time. Technicality on the subject matter. We need experts making law. We don't need MPs making law. So say it's a law about medical care, we need a medical expert making that law, not an MP. Flexibility. If there's a cost in need of changing, so making laws are more flexible, so you can fit them around more subjects if we have more laws. Yeah, that's really brief, but don't worry about that one. Future needs. If laws need amending in the future, so if we need to update our laws, because we do still follow a lot of ancient laws and we need to update them, and etc. Types of delegate legislation. There are 3 types that you need to remember. First of all, we've got statutory instruments. Sorry, I'm about to say interpretation. These are made by government ministers. So like the Minister for Education, Health, Transport, etc. Ministers create laws under the authority of the Parent Act, which you don't really need to know that, but you might as well know it anyway, so you have a wider understanding. It's to update the law. That statutory instruments are made to update the law and fill in technical details in the gaps of the law within the framework of Parliament, if you want to add that. Examples. You need to remember a few examples to back up your definitions and just to gain extra marks. If you have no examples, you are probably going to fail this exam. So, examples. Cautions. The Minister of Justice has the power to give fines instead of sending people to court, so it saves the country money from court cases, and fines are offered instead. Yeah, that's all you need to put really. So the Minister of Justice has the power to make delegated legislation on the matters such as cautions, which can be used instead of taking the defendant to court for minor offences. So remember, minor offences like speeding tickets and stuff like that. Minimum wage. The government of pensions and work can update the minimum wage from time to time under the power of the National Minimum Wage Act. Stop and search. Under the power of PACE, I think that means police and criminal evidence, I think so. Just remember pace anyway, it's all capitalised as well, so capital P, capital A, capital C, capital E. And that act can allow the Minister of Justice again to give police powers for stop and search, so the police have the authority to stop and search people on the street. And this one is quite recent actually, so can you remember that, if you're from the UK this is, we were introduced a 5 pence charge for plastic carrier bags, and that is actually an example of statutory instruments, so you can put that, and I think the examiners will be really pleased that you've used a more recent case of statutory instruments, and therefore you might gain more marks. So, what is it then? Well, under the power of the Climate Change Act, the Environment Minister made a statutory instrument introducing a 5 pence charge for a single carrier bag. That's all you need to put. Alright, the second type of second type of delegated legislation is orders in council. Orders in council are made by the Queen and the Privy Council. They take 3 to 4 minutes to make, and they are made to make law in emergency situations, therefore the quick lawmaking process speed. And that's all you need to put really. And in emergency situations where Parliament is not sitting, basically that's all you need to put. And for examples you can put transferring responsibility between government ministers and government departments. That's one. Movement of fuel, the civil I can't say this word, I'll put a subtitle. During the fuel crisis in 2000, an order in council was made to enable the movement of fuel around the UK. Let's put that. And the reclassification of cannabis in 2008, an order in council was made to reclassify cannabis as a Class B drug from a Class C drug, under the Power of Misuse of Drugs Act. Just remember that, you'll be fine. So there are only 3 examples for orders in council, but just make sure you describe them with full detail and you should be fine. The last type is bylaws, and bylaws are made by local authorities or large corporations. So councils is the local authorities, and large corporations could be something like the Natural Trust that I'm going to explain in a second. And these are made to resolve matters in the authorities or the corporation's area of control. That's basically it. So I'll give a few examples now. And local authorities bylaws are usually made under the authority of the Government Act, Local Government Act. Yep. Examples: cleaning dog poo. I know this is a really weird example, but under the power of the Clean Neighbourhood and Environment Act, local authorities can ban dogs from certain beaches, parks, playgrounds, and it can also introduce a fine if owners fail to clean up after their dogs. So basically, if they do not pick up their dog's poo, that's basically it. So you are charged if you don't pick up your dog's drop-ins. So I don't know why you would not though. So, anyways, drinking in public places. A bylaw under the authority of the LG Act was introduced, so you can ban drinking or riding skateboards in public places, designated obviously. And notices are usually displayed on lampposts, so signs that tell you that you cannot drink in this area, or you cannot ride skateboards in this area, are usually displayed on lampposts. That is completely pointless, but you might as well just put it in anywhere, because it's from a model answer. Litter now. This is an example of a large corporation creating a bylaw. The National Trust can make bylaws concerning behaviour of the public in its properties or in the land, in its land. Sorry, like litter can be made an offence on their land. So if you litter on the National Trust properties, you can be introduced with a fine, which are very expensive. Right, since all these ministers, Queen and the Privy Council and the council and local authorities are making laws under the power of Parliament, there needs to introduce a type of control. And there are two types of control that you need to remember: parliamentary control and judicial control. There are four types of parliamentary controls. So they are legislation, negative resolution process, affirmative resolution process, and the scrutiny committee. Well, legislation, like I said earlier, is just law. So parent acts, which are made by Parliament, can be introduced, which provide a specific procedure which the delegated legislation must follow in order for it to be valid. And I will expand on that on judicial controls. Negative resolution process. This usually is a process for most statutory instruments. So once the delegated legislation has been made, Parliament have 40 days to repel, which means reject or just like oppose and say no, you're not making this law, until when the 40 days expire, it automatically becomes law, and therefore, yeah, that's why it's called that. I always think of it as the negative. So, I don't know. I just remember it as negative. It's bad. It's bad if it becomes law after the 40 days, because most of the people in Parliament are busy. But that's how I remember it. Very strange way of remembering it, but it works. Affirmative resolution process. This is when the delegated legislation must be allowed by Parliament. So you got to wait for approval before it becomes law. The delegated legislation. Scrutiny committee. This is a group of MPs and Lords, which their job is to review the delegated legislation and look for matters that need consideration to Parliament. And so if they find anything wrong with the delegated legislation, they will send it back and suggest improvements, or just feedback. Really, you get feedback from. But if there are no problems with the delegated legislation, then it is approved by the Scrutiny Committee and Parliament, and therefore it becomes law. Judicial control. Right, so judicial control consists of two types: procedural ultra vires and substantive ultra vires. So ultra vires just means going over the power of the Parent Act that was set. Procedural, so think of it as procedure. So there was a procedure provided by the Parent Act, but the delegated legislation has failed to follow that specific procedure, and therefore it is declared procedural ultra vires. And this is described by the courts as when it is found procedural ultra vires is considered as void, and which is not a law. An example of this is Aylesbury mushroom case, where the Minister was required by Parent Act to consult all interested parties before making delegated legislation, but did not so. Therefore, did not follow the procedure, and therefore procedural ultra vires. Substantive ultra vires. This concerns with the body who has made the delegated legislation and the limits set out for it. So, like, if you've done more than the procedure asks for, and the body, well, it can be the body as well, but the main thing is the body never had the power to do the specific thing in the first place. So an example, Fulham Corporation case, where the Parent Act gave the corporation / council the power to provide clothes washing facilities for the public. The corporation set up a commercial laundrette, where the council employees wash residents' clothes, and they did not have the power to do that. And therefore, it was found by the courts as substantive ultra vires, because the Parent Act did not give them the power to do that. So they still followed the procedure, but they did a bit more than the procedure which the Parent Act did not allow them to. Right, finally we've got some advantages and disadvantages for delegated legislation. So firstly, the advantages are It saves parliamentary time, so Parliament does not have the time to create all the laws in the country, so therefore we need to delegate lawmaking powers, and then Parliament can concentrate on the more severe and big matters in the country. It provides specialist expertise, so like I said earlier, we need experts making law. We do not want MPs making law who have no idea about the subject matter, and the experts do. Allows consultation, so ministers can have benefits of further consultation before regulations are drawn up. It can be made quickly, like I said earlier again, it is a very speedy process, especially orders in council which laws are made in, well, basically 3 to 4 minutes, which is pretty fast. And faster than, this is obviously faster than Parliament because you don't need to go through the whole lawmaking process, like House of Lords and etc. House of Commons. And that is it for the advantages. Now the disadvantages: it's undemocratic. It allows unelected people to create law, which is undemocratic, hence the word. Without sufficient control. This is bad because it lowers the validity of our laws being made. So the laws may go against Parliament's intentions, and it's undemocratic. There is a risk of sub-delegation, which is another disadvantage, and there is a risk of delegation, which means that the power could be passed down another level, which means people in the councils, not like the council itself, can make laws, and which it leads to comments about our law, about our civil servants creating law, which is again a bit undemocratic, and well, it's not right really. There is a large volume. Well, you think about all these laws that are being made, and yeah, there are quite a lot of laws, so we need there is a large volume, and people aren't willing to see cases for bylaws, so in order they cannot be made without cases being made for them. And this also leads to delegated legislation being rushed in the lawmaking process, which can lead to problems that can arise in the future and create absurd results in court. Lack of publicity, so there aren't enough people, like I just said earlier, that aren't willing to sit at cases for bylaws and sort them out, so therefore it leads to problems about uncertainty and less bylaws being made that are actually valid. And that is it for delegated legislation. Thank you for watching. I hope this video helped you out a lot. I wish you the best of luck in your exams. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more law videos, psychology videos, economic videos, and maths. Oh, I love maths. Right, see you later. Bye.